Nothing good happens after bar close. Nothing good happens after midnight. Nothing good happens after 10.
I know I don't happen after dark, that's for sure.
Oh, it's not updated. Silly not.
What's the other night for?
I know,
I
right?
had it ready to update and then they kept having meetings with me. And then, I forgot. What are 3 meetings?
I know.
So Mike, are you absolutely in the swing of retirement now?
No.
You're not?
Is it official?
Well, July 1st, yeah. It was. Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Congratulations.
But geez, I get busier now than I have been when I was working.
My dad said the same thing when he retired too.
Like, holy cow.
Doing what you want though, I hope.
Well, I'm getting there. I just gotta, depends on the weather, because the weather dictates what kind of like these outdoor projects. Like today, wow, beautiful day, I gotta finish, staining the deck or the front porch, and it's like, I gotta do it today.
Yeah, because it's gonna rain the next 4 days.
Yes,
Thanks
yeah.
for catching it, I like it.
So when's the travel part of your retirement start?
Maybe next year?
Next year?
Get those things done that you need done, and then you
Yes,
can go
yes.
away.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, I'll check for YouTube.
Stop by me without me doing this stuff.
Without you. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's gotta be a
Kind of
first.
convenient.
I know. I didn't have to say, no.
Yeah, for you.
I haven't gotten here so early before. It's nice. It's nice to just be here.
Right.
Just relax.
Calm and collected.
So did you have a few minutes after?
Yep. I have, did the agenda come out of that?
The second one?
For this one or for the?
Oh, yeah, I did see the second one, yeah.
Oh, the
The
second one?
the second PSC
That's what I
agenda?
just,
Yeah.
Oh, a second? Did two come out?
an update one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's,
We're not talking chickens on Thursday.
correct. Correct. That never actually went on, that one.
Oh, that one didn't go.
Chickens? What?
Chickens on the public safety?
Yeah, for noise.
No way.
Is there a tap chickens out there? Are there some tap chickens out there?
I like chickens.
I actually don't know the whole story.
Neither do I.
It needs some more time, I think.
I just seen her kind of chuckle.
Oh, who brought that?
The police department was,
I gotta call her.
and then I was, I'm always
I
okay
gotta eat
discussing.
270.
There's a rooster crowing.
We got a rooster on the crown.
What, chickens? Unless somebody has roosters
Particularly about bees and bees.
and bees?
That needs to go on the list of the way that probably will tell us that clients about the car wash.
The car wash?
Sure.
And I'm like, I called them, I'm like,
Your
what time
place
is
is
it?
the answer.
She's like, oh, it's not at 6:30 in the morning. And I'm like, I wish we had. Okay, yeah, it sucks, but
But anyways, the police chief. was
Welcome,
back.
City Council. Counselor
it's so
Anderson.
hilarious. Well, it's just nice
To
to,
be continued.
it's just nice to know there's lots of people that I can like call,
Other than
right? So I just call, they're called me, I think they're called me. Who's Douglas County? I think it's
Like
somebody
you said,
roosters ordinance.
Yeah, roosters
And
are,
then just call it, and
I don't
like,
think
oh,
that's in our ordinance.
you know?
it's not? I heard it was, this was years ago. Oh, well,
I guess that.
It's just a bummer, man.
That's,
I'll look at the agenda, I didn't even look at it yet.
well, it's not there.
Oh, okay. they were attack chickens, I could understand.
Attack chickens.
Well, that could go for anything. Mike, quite really, you know.
Alright, I'm gonna get on the Instagram.
Attack cardinals, you know, I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
Attack chipmunks.
Yeah, attack chipmunks.
Schools.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure they're there.
I typed in rooster and it's not in there.
See, I always thought it was because I was told this was 40 years ago.
Did you remove it?
No, I didn't remove it.
Yeah, did you use the new one?
See, I always thought that because my father-in-law, years ago, when I was first married 100 years ago, had, you know, couldn't have a rooster because it was against the ordinance, but it's not in there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Like, I think that's like almost general thought in the city. The few people I've talked to have all said like, oh, you can have chickens, you just can't have roosters.
Right.
And then that's almost what everyone thinks. Everyone thinks.
Sure. However,
Mention a fowl in here.
it's got what?
Fowl,
Fowl.
Fowl?
yeah.
As in bird, fowl.
Yeah.
Alright.
Does it say anything about rooster fowl?
No mention.
Fowl language.
Okay.
That you don't have it. We want to ban it?
Bad
Well, I
news.
think some of it, like, I don't.
Like, it's kind of edgy, but like kind of not, I don't know.
Some of it was distance, you know, so that would be more of a.
Well, they're saying it's not on the books, but
Some of the stuff
I've always
would be distance.
understood all these years that
I
you.
don't know why it's.
That's what I thought. Yeah, yeah.
Shoot.
So,
But, again, I wasn't trying to spend a lot of time on it. It's not
You
actually-
can have a limited amount of
Oh, man, we could have got down to
chickens or whatever.
Yeah.
chickens
I
and chicken.
don't know if I've heard that.
2.5 hours
It's a
in.
good number.
I'm sure you can't have like, build one farm here.
Well, I mean, it's not like 100, it's
No, no.
maybe even single digits. I think.
Sure.
Do we not allow
everyone.
pets?
You tell them.
Is that allowed? Do you know?
Well, that's.
Oh, you sure?
Doing well. How are you, Jack?
Go ahead, give it one.
Attack, squirrels, attack.
How's everything going?
Cardinals, any, right now, I mean, like, yeah, things are really.
Did you get a chance to go over to some ice cream?
We don't have bees,
I was
you
just.
know?
Well, yeah, that was
Yeah,
just the other day.
Yeah, our place is packed.
My, son's girlfriend, her, her family's out northwestern. Her dad, he works for MinDOT.
I might try hitting out
He's in
on the rural
It is the coolest
in the morning for a couple hours.
It is the coolest thing. These are like his little studies.
But yeah,
Like,
it does
the stuff he does.
the last
Hello, Counselor Grasky. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
I can. Thank you.
We ratified. I was hoping for a couple more days on the, I was hoping for a
No, I
couple
said
more days.
Teamsters.
Yeah. I was hoping for a couple more days.
I would like to.
July. Yep.
We better watch out, maybe they'll.
I wanted to go a few more days. People were starting to get arrested and I kind of felt left out. Isn't that what you're supposed to do? Aren't you supposed to get picked up when you're on the picket line? Blocking roads.
I remember,
Our union's negotiating right now.
All those of them, you guys are up?
Ask me in
Yeah.
Minnesota.
Yep, well,
We've never had an issue, but they're not funding the budget this year, that's for sure.
you had what, a 17% increase in health insurance in the last year?
Yeah.
Yep.
I still think we're better than the hospitals here.
Oh, no, you are.
For my
You are.
sister-in-law's a nurse in Essentia, and she pays so much money in insurance.
Yeah.
So I
We
can't
have-
complain too much.
We have the same thing as you guys on the train.
Are you at work?
Did your mom's in
You
there?
are?
yeah.
Yeah.
What are you doing here?
I oversee the inmates in Cheshire.
How's your mom and dad?
No way.
Good, they'll probably be
That's so
here
cool.
for just a couple more weeks. And then they're, then they're flying out.
You know, cool one, they got it on there. Okay.
And then they'll come back. They'll probably come a little bit after Thanksgiving, stay for a couple weeks.
Are you gonna have short
Some
hours?
will celebrate
Therapy
late
with,
Thanksgiving.
Christmas
starting. So, but otherwise, yeah, they're, just great.
Wow.
Yeah.
We still do that.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So
We
we're
still
like in the
do.
same, you know,
Well,
Sanders County ARC?
I'm sure quite.
Is that counselor position? Or are they?
They call us
Yeah.
counselors.
Yeah.
Actually, our
Becky's got the whole thing now. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. It is 6:30 p.m., so I will call the Tuesday, September 16th meeting of the Superior Common Council to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilor Ledeen.
Here.
Councilor Anderson.
Here.
Vice President Moffett.
Here.
Councilor Sweeney. Here. Councilor Fennessy.
Here.
Councilor Elm.
Here.
Councilor Ludwig.
Here.
Vice President Herrick.
Here.
Councilor Johnson.
Here.
And President Grasky.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Item 4.1 is the approval of the September 2nd, 2025 regular council meeting minutes.
Motion is by Councilor Elm, second by Councilor Herrick. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. Motion carries.
And item 6.1 is report from Mayor Payne.
All right, councilors, obviously our next meeting will be the budget presentation. And so just a reminder, I've caused some confusion in past years in the way that I have released this. So I just want to give everybody a clear heads up. And this is an update as much for staff and the public as well as the council. So we're going into what I just kind of jokingly called the cone of silence here any day. That's where right about the time we get the budget balanced, then we start analyzing the council's priorities and building out the new expenditures and bringing in all of the other funds, working on the CIP, et cetera. About that time, nobody sees the budget. That period lasts about 2 weeks before release. And then the day of the budget presentation, I will typically release the budget that morning with a press release. Sometimes I've held a press conference, sometimes not. I think it does the same thing to do the presentation of the council. But the important part is nobody other than the principals, which is generally my office and the finance department, the senior leaders of the finance department actually, nobody has seen that budget. And the reason I do that is, I don't want any one interest group, counselors, departments to have an early look and to start influencing it. I want everybody to see it at the exact same time. So for that reason, that's a big part of the reason why when I present it, I don't think I've ever recommended adopting it the night that I present it. Now, at the next meeting, it will be presented for adoption because obviously it will be perfect and require no changes. That said, I will still recommend you take time to read it, to review it, and after I give you the presentation, we'll just answer some questions that you see immediately. Then you take it home for a couple weeks. In the event there are mistakes, as there often are, sometimes they're just mistakes, oversights. Everybody looks at it, and I will usually bring a package of corrections to that next meeting, which will be the second meeting in October, where we'll have our real in-depth discussion. Some budgets have passed at that second meeting. Others, counselors have kicked it out for even one more meeting. So no pressure once this is released. We're just ready to start talking about it, and we'll take the month of October to really dig into it. And that's what's going to happen in the next few weeks. So far, it's been a stressful summer with this budget, but we've gotten a lot of good numbers recently, just the past couple hours. It's starting to look pretty good. So I'm starting to feel confident for the next meeting. Any questions I can answer right now? If not, that's my report.
Item 7.1 or 7.2 is the business of the Public Works Committee with the meeting held on September 4th. Is there a report from the chair?
Sure, I was filling in as chair for the meeting. Just a couple of recommendations this evening. We talked about our printing services, and we are going to recommend moving forward with ProPrint again. We'd like to send it out for bidding again next year, but we feel like the overall cost has gone down, and we've been happy with the service there and the local relationship. So we'd like to continue on with that contract for this year, and then bid it out again next year and kind of see where we're at there in the spirit of fairness. And then the other item is to approve the purchase of a conventional chassis Vector combination machine from McQueen Equipment in the amount of $603,025. And that's to help with the sewer cleanouts, the stormwater cleanouts, and those sorts of things. And do I need you to read the recommendations first, or I can make a recommendation to approve both, recommend both items?
Yes. The motion then is by Councillor Moffat to approve both recommendations, the second by Councillor Ludwig. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The motion carries.
Item 7.3 is the business of the Finance Committee with a special meeting held on September 11th. Is there a report from the chair?
Yes, thank you. There was a meeting, a special meeting. It was to deal with the information. It was an informational meeting only, and it was to deal with the contract that was passed on by the other committee to go to the city council. And so it was just a fact-finding information. And so I'd like to, for the record, change the motion. The motion that we have in front of us is not an error. The motion was made just simply to pass on to the city council for voting. I'd just like that to be corrected in the minutes, please. And because it was the one committee already approved it, we just had a fact-finding informational meeting, and then we voted to pass it on to the city council for the vote. So the clerk wants to read it corrected. If you understood what I said, we'll go ahead and vote.
Item 7.3.1 is our recommendation to review the contract award to Raphitis Financial Consultants Incorporated for consulting services in evaluating the potential acquisition of utilities operated by Superior Water, Light, and Power in an amount not to exceed $150,000.
Motion is by Councillor Dean, second by Councillor Ludwig. Is there discussion? Councillor Sweeney. Is there discussion? Councillor Johnson.
Just real quick, I read through this a couple weeks ago and then haven't come back to it until I had, but I had a question on one part of it. Is this feasibility study going to include any potential legal hurdles or battles that we'd include too?
Can you refine your question a little more? I'm not sure what you're asking. I can give some answers, and tell me if I get close. Yeah. So it will weigh in on the process. I do have a legal question for the consultant regarding the process that we will use. There are two different potential processes for utility acquisition, and only one is the correct one. And that may be disputed, so we would look for an expert opinion on what likely holds. And then as part of the overall, even though this is a feasibility study, I've resisted calling it that because ultimately whether or not this is feasible is a council and a public decision. And so we need to be presented with all of the facts. Part of that would be what legal challenges we would face. What we talked about in the Finance Committee, though, is this is not necessarily, something that's duked out in a circuit court via a lawsuit. It's a most likely, or one potential option would be a contested case hearing in front of the Public Service Commission, which does involve attorneys. So we would ask them to lay out what the process is and what costs we're likely to face, as well as timelines. Pretty close?
Great, thank you.
Councilor Anderson.
Is it possible, I know we had talked about, the water thing has been the big issue, and that's originally how this all started. How did we get to wanting to acquire the electric and the gas as well?
We discussed that in the Finance Committee, and I'll give a short version, but I would invite in future discussion the members of the Public Works Committee to weigh in on this, because they ultimately made that decision and then described it to Finance. Ultimately, it was a matter of economies of scale. And so, while there are plenty of us right now that disagree whether or not it's a good idea to buy all three, to buy just the water, to acquire all three, to acquire the water utility, or to acquire none of them, we don't really have at our disposal all of the facts about both the benefits and costs of all three. So it was suggested by some of the members of the committee, and I think possibly the consultant, that there could be some benefits in combining the services of all of them, and that we may actually make more money in the end, or save more money in the end if we acquired all three. But we don't know that until we explore them. That's my best summary, but I think Councilors Ledeen or Moffett would answer that better. Do you have other questions, Councilor Anderson, that I can answer now before I turn the mic over?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Further discussion, or does anybody else want to take a shot at answering that question better than I did? Councilor Moffett.
Yeah, thank you. So we did originally think about just the water utility first as we were going through interview processes. The consultant noted, and we had already speculated, that because there's so many shared assets between the three utility branches, that there's some potential large cost savings in an acquisition all at once. Also, if you think in terms of shared salaries, shared bonuses, shared billing software, shared call center people, shared bonuses for executives, shared office building, all sorts of things. And so that's why when we look at this, there's a small discount for looking at one of the utilities, but essentially it's cheaper to just look at all three of them at once because so many of the assets are shared. And the same thing is, we believe, probably true with acquisition. And essentially, in addition to the shared costs involved there, we know from looking at utility numbers from other companies that water is traditionally the least profitable utility, then usually electric, and then usually natural gas is the most profitable utility. And so excess profits from the other two might actually make the purchase easier versus more difficult. And so ultimately, we don't know what all these numbers are, and we won't know until we work with the consultant. But if we just did the water numbers and it came back and it looked really good for the city, I think we would all feel pretty foolish because we wouldn't know what the other numbers were and how much extra it would be to get the extra ones. I would highlight that we're paying some of the highest rates in the entire state, not just for water, but also for natural gas and also for electric. There are over 80 municipal electric utilities in the state. There's other natural gas utilities in the state. Duluth has had theirs for 100 years. And so it just really makes sense to have all the numbers at once so we can make an informed decision and our residents can make an informed decision moving forward.
Further discussion? Councilor Fennessy.
I think it's important to point out that tonight's vote just isn't about a $150,000 feasibility study. It's about opening the door to a purchase that could saddle our city with debt, massive debt. The preliminary estimated debt that we would have to incur for this purchase right now is, the numbers that have been floated around, is anywhere from $20 million to $150 million. And this is for a feasibility study of a purchase of a private company where that company has no interest in selling. And so I'm not necessarily opposed to the city owning and maintaining these utilities, but I would be far more inclined to support this feasibility study if there was an opportunity for a mutually agreeable sale. With a forced sale like this, we would be faced with an incredibly lengthy process. The last one that I could find in Wisconsin where they took the route of a forced sale like this took nearly 10 years, and it was a long, drawn-out court battle coupled with a significant amount of legal bills. The other thing is a court battle like this ends up with the buyer paying the top dollar, for the utility. And so at this point, I don't think the timing is right now, even just to do the preliminary feasibility studies, just because we would be doing a feasibility study for something that probably best case scenario would come to fruition 10 years from now. And I just don't think that that's a wise move. I don't think that's a smart use of this $150,000. And I would much rather see if both parties could get together and agree we want to buy it, and the other party we want to sell it. But right now, all we have is we want to buy it, and the other party saying we don't want to sell it.
Further discussion. Councilor Moffett.
Yeah, I would just note the buyer doesn't get to set the price in any scenario for this. And the right time to purchase this would have probably been 50 or 100 years ago. The next best time is now. And I think $150,000 is a pretty small amount to pay to figure out how this process would look and how much money we can save for our residents. When you talk about a potential cost for purchasing the utility, it sounds like a really big, scary number. If you throw out $40 million or something like that, that's more than anyone in this room, assumably, is probably ever going to make in their lifetime, right? And so, that's a big number. That's a huge, scary number. But the reality is we're already paying for this utility. We're their customer base, and we're their pretty much almost exclusively their entire customer base. They do have a few people outside of the city. But all of their revenue already comes from us. And so we're already paying for the utility. We just don't get the benefit of it right now. When we look at making a purchase of that size, there's bonding available. A couple of thoughts to think of on that are we can borrow money much cheaper than the private company can because we can bond for it if we need to. We can also look at revenue bonding in a situation like this. So those bonds go against future income of the utility, income that's essentially guaranteed because right now we have no other choice on who we're buying our water, electricity from. They have a monopoly, and so we know that that's guaranteed revenue coming in. Just like we can predict what our stormwater and sewer revenue is going to be. We can project those out a ways. This money would be borrowed against that, so it's not like we'd be taking out a gigantic bond to pay for all of it against property taxes. It comes out of the future revenue. And those revenue bonds can be, my understanding is those revenue bonds can be stretched out to 40 years and combined with the low interest rates. I think it's likely that we could end up in a situation in which the rates actually go down. When Beloit purchased their utility, they were able to drop rates 10% overnight just by signing on the dotted line. And I know that this is potentially a contested acquisition, and I hope that changes somewhere along the process. But the seller would not get to determine that price. That would be determined through an appraisal process and with the state and things. And so, we're not just paying whatever price they demand.
Further discussion. Councilor Sweeney.
One reason that I would be in favor of looking at all three, some people think we're absolutely 100% in favor of buying, whether it be the water, the power, the electricity, or the gas, or none of them. And I would just hope that this company we're hiring is objective and is willing to tell us and sort out the facts that are the facts, not the facts that figure one side or the other. And so I don't like spending $150,000 either, but I think in the light of things, we probably have to do it. In order to do a good job on any one of them, we must look at all three. And so I just want to be assured that this company that the Public Works is, and I'm sure they did, but that they're not going to lead us down one path. They're completely objective, completely honest, and only the facts. And so that's why I think we had to look at all three, because there'll always be questions if we don't.
Further discussion? Councilor Herrick.
Yeah, I was just going to kind of add to that. Yeah, again, nobody likes spending extra money, but I know over the years we spent, money on and off to find out what's the best things to do for our citizens. One of the things I look at this is that I know it's been brought up for months now about this topic, and I think that this study will be good. From what I read, they look like they're pretty in depth of what we're looking at. Also, too, is that, again, I think it's not automatic. This will go to referendum, so we can have the residents of the city of Superior vote on this. And again, it's when they vote, rather than just having them answer a blank question, this way the citizens will have facts on what they're voting for, because all the numbers will give them the information. I think that will help them in their decision.
Further discussion? Councilor Fennessy.
Yeah, I just want to be clear. I would echo what Councilor Herrick said, and from everything that I've researched about this company, they look super legit. They look like the company that is going to put together a quality assessment, a quality everything about that. So it's if we are going to be doing this, I think this company is positioned probably better than any other company out there to do this. It's for me, it's just the timing. I don't think this is the right time to do that when it's not going to be a mutually agreed upon transaction.
Councilor Johnson.
In the feasibility study, is there a plan for, Councilor Moffitt mentioned it's a kind of a guaranteed revenue stream. Are we gonna see anything in there or any projections if that revenue stream falls short for capital improvements, for unforeseen liabilities or burdens?
Well, it'll definitely describe what the revenue is. That's one of the most known numbers because that's published right now. So we know what the revenue is, or rather, it's pretty hard to sort out, but their revenue is public information. And then they, in terms of what the capital plans are, then yes, we would ask them to speculate what the near-term capital liabilities likely are. So we have a good sense of the rough age of the infrastructure. And then, of course, keep in mind the city, we do this. We run a very similar, the wastewater utility is also a network of pipes that age and have to be replaced and maintained. And so it's not exactly the same. The water has very different quality in those pipes, but we would probably get a sense of what this looks like 5 to 10 years out, and then I would hope compare to some other cities with similar aged infrastructure, so we at least have a predictive, a plan for roughly what our major obligations are going to be in the coming years, and will the existing rate structure be enough to support that? Because I think if we look at a long-term forecast that shows that we're just going to have to be increasing the rates just as much to no known advantage, well, then many of us won't find that very feasible. But those are the questions you're asking right now are the exact questions we hope to ask of this consultant.
And so the obligations or the liabilities that we may take on as financial risk will be outlined in this feasibility study for 5 to 10 years out, you think?
I was saying those numbers arbitrarily. I say 5 years because that's the plan that we generally create. And I think they have planned out longer, but I don't know. We could ask them whatever number we want.
Sure.
10 years is a little bit long for infrastructure planning, but 5 years is fairly standard.
Okay. And they're going to kind of, if those projections or capital, or the projections to improve the capital projects that we do, similar to like you said, the stormwater, fall short, where would those where would that money come from then to gain access to fix those projects then?
You're saying it's post-acquisition?
Yeah, like
if
it's
the exact same thing we do now. So either you bond for it or you raise the rates. Those are your options. But again, I can't remember who made the point. That's what happens now. So if that liability exists no matter what, and we, the public and the city, we're going to pay that either way. It's just a matter of do we pay who's overseeing it. So if the infrastructure fails and Superior Water, Light, and Power owns it, they're passing that on to customers anyways.
Correct.
So it's the same liability either way.
Yeah.
But that's where it would come from.
And we would be doing the same thing. We would be
Yes.
passing that on
Yes.
to the taxpayers then as well.
Presuming we didn't find a better way to do it, but yes.
Okay.
Councillor Sweeney.
The difficult thing that I've found, and I've been working on this for a little bit, is to find some comparables, sizes of city, whatever the comparables will be, because just like you alluded to, infrastructure is aged. If you took 10 cities with similar whatever, and I mean, I've looked at population, I've looked at square miles, I've looked at density, I've looked at pipes in the ground, miles of pipes in the ground, but to try to get some comparability, to look at these when they come back to us and say, these costs are high, they're low, they're average, and that's the big thing to me is how are we going to compare when we get all these numbers to other cities in our, and I picked our population from 19 to 30,000. There are a series of cities in there, 10 or 12, okay? And so I don't know if they will do that, or we're going to have to do that, or we're going to have somebody else to hire that, but that's an important piece, at least for me, when we get down the road. Thank you.
It's actually a question that I have as well. It's not who are our comparables, it's how do we select them? Because I think we would all have our preferred comparables. Like, do you want to go, I think Chairman of the Finance Committee referenced density, I believe. Councilor Moffett referenced miles of pipe. And I prefer to just look at our own similar utility, but that's because it's what I'm comfortable with. I understand that utility. I work with it. I would ask the company to tell us, what do you think makes for a comparable situation? And then show us what that looks like. So to a certain extent, even that I would rely on the outside expertise. Okay, further discussion.
May I
Councilor
request a
Moffett.
roll call vote, please?
Yes. Any further discussion? If not, then we will proceed by roll call.
Councillor Johnson.
Yes.
Councillor Grasky.
Yes.
Councillor Ledeen.
Yes.
Councillor Anderson.
Yes.
Councillor Moffett.
Yes.
Councillor Sweeney.
Yes.
Councillor Fennessy.
No.
Councillor Elm.
Yes.
Councillor Ludwig.
Yes.
And Councillor Herrick.
Yes.
9 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative. The motion carries.
All right, item 8.1.1 is the business of the Plan Commission with the meeting held on September 9th. Is there a report from the chair?
Oh, yeah, I'm the chair. Relatively routine meeting, councilors, but as always, these are exciting. Another small business grant application and another vacant to value. I think I've threatened that we were running out of these before. We've been picking up a few more lots. So it's a very successful program, and when it starts slowing down or the housing market changes, we'll look to change it. But for now, a house on a house lot is better than grass on a house lot, so I'm going to keep recommending these. The small business grant application is a fun one. We're helping to rebuild the dugout, though we had a debate that I did not allow about what the bar should be named in the future, and we're not going to engage in that today either. So my recommendation and the Plan Commission's is to approve both of the recommendations of the Plan Commission. Motions by Councilor Fennessy, second by Councilor Elm. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. Motion carries.
8.2, reports without recommendations. At this time, are there any further committee or commission reports to be made?
Seeing none, we can move to new business.
New business, item 10.1 is to approve miscellaneous licenses pending departmental approvals.
Motion is by Counselor Herrick, second by Counselor Ludwig. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed say no. Motion carries.
And item 10.2 is to approve railroad permit and flagging agreements with BNSF Railway, CPCK, and Union Pacific Railroad for Connect Superior for a total estimated fee of $16,218.
Motion is by Counselor Moffett, second by Counselor Johnson. Is there discussion? Counselor Herrick.
Yeah, just one question. I don't know if anyone can answer this, but I see that CP's fee is $12,500. It's almost, more than double the others. Is there a reason why, or is that just the way they're doing it?
I'm going to ask the actual answer of our broadband manager, Steph Becken, but I'm inclined to say that's the railroad. But
I know, but I mean, there's such a big
right.
difference there.
Just the way they do it. Ms. Becken.
The answer is that's just the way they do it. That is, yep, and there's not much recourse on those fees. They set them, we say thank you, and then we move forward.
I should say, lest anybody think I was criticizing, the railroads can be difficult to work with because they're quasi-private federal agencies governed only by Congress, and they're large organizations, but on the whole, our staff have done a really great job building decent relationships with the railroads. And I know every single one of you has had some kind of issue to bring up, so they're challenging to work with and they take some time, but we've built some good relationships. But yes, they're just sometimes different. Further discussion? Here, Councilor Fennessy.
Where exactly is this? I was trying to find the address, and it just kind of talks about the North End neighborhood, and then there's a mention of milepost 65.4. I couldn't find, what crossing is this, or is it not at a crossing?
I thought it was right on, in my head, it's, Steph, I mean, Ms. Becken?
Yep, you bet. Yeah, so the crossing is Winter and Catlin, Counselor Fennessy. That's where Catlin and Winter, yep.
All right, thank you.
It crosses 3 railroads there, yep.
I was picturing Grand. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed say no. The motion carries. We have nobody signed up for public comment and no further business and are therefore adjourned. Thank you, everybody.